Armed and dangerous, ain't too many can bang with us. Straight up, we no angel dust. Label us notorious. Thug ass niggas that love the bus. It's strange to us, y'all niggas be scrambling, gambling. I'm restaurants with mandolins and violins. We just sitting here trying to win, trying not to sin. High off weed and lots of gin. So much smoke need oxygen. Steadily counting them Benjamins. Nigga, you should too, if you knew what this game would do to you. Been in this shit since 92. Look at all the bullshit I've been through. So-called beef with you know who. Fuck a few female stars or two. Then I blew like niggas blue like Mike.
Jake, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, sir.
Nice to meet you, man. Lawn Vets Outdoors. Where did you get the name?
Well, I'm a veteran, and when I was starting my business, I wanted to obviously set myself apart. I wanted to kind of fly the veteran flag and let people know who they're dealing with. We're in a very highly concentrated military area, and that's proven to be a very good decision. I was really on the fence. I really was just going to put it like my last name, landscaping, or something like that. But kind of went out on a limb and just did this, and it turned out to be a really good decision for us in this market.
Well, great. I'm glad for you because I'll be honest with you, Jake. I love your work. As I was waiting for you to be ready, I went through your stuff a little bit more, and I realized I was like, man, this guy's really good at doing the paving stuff. This is nice. What got you started, Jake?
Thank you. So Lawn Vets as a business started out in lawn maintenance, but the hardscaping paver stuff happened really when I was a kid. I had a summer job with a landscaper in my hometown in Columbia, Missouri. And he was a very old school guy. He had a big operation. He had wholesale nursery, retail garden center, landscape crews.
Oh, wow.
And so I got I got to work at the tree farm. I got to work at the retail nursery. I got to work on the landscape install crews. So I didn't realize it, but at 15 years old, I started working there to get money to buy my first car. My dad's like, you need to save up money. I'll help you get a loan or whatever. And he was friends with this guy. And it was really one of the best decisions. And I'm glad my dad kind of shoved me in that direction because I got to work with some brilliant people. And some of the guys that like the kids, like the young guys I used to work for, grew up, went to school, got their design degree and work there now. So I have some awesome reach back just from working summer jobs, but I got a lot of experience. And so fast forward to, I get out of high school, I tried college, I didn't like it. Came back to my hometown, started working on a framing crew, doing some construction stuff. Didn't really, I just was kind of lost. I was 20 years old and decided to join the Navy. And that was, that was kind of, everybody's backup plan. But it turned out to be a good decision. It kind of worked some of the punk out of me. And it allowed me to, and I had a contracting job when I got out, and I didn't have to do this lawn maintenance landscaping thing, but I just felt drawn to come back to the industry because it's just what I love, man. I love machinery and tools and trailers and diesel trucks, and I love that. And
you guys get to play with some pretty cool toys too.
Oh man, I say I have a hardscaping business, but I'm really just addicted to buying tools. If there's something new and cutting edge, I'm going to get it or rent it or borrow it or find a way to get a company to send it to me to try it so I can review it or something. But at the end of the day, I'm just head over heels obsessed with the hardscaping industry. And that's what sets us apart. It's our passion. And our work is great, and it's a reflection of our passion is what it really is. And that's kind of a little selling point I use, but I want people to understand that this isn't just a little landscape job that I'm doing that I'm just going to kind of muddle through. Like, we're going to obsess over the details. I'm the owner, but I'm going to be there hands-on. I'm not just sending guys and come by to pick up the check type of owner,
Yeah, it looks like you're very personalized too, because the swimming pool was absolutely amazing, but you go and you make that like 1.5 foot carving out on the edge, tracing through that whole thing with like a drafting compass. It looked like you made yourself. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, so interesting. That's a cool tool. That little tool was like $100, and people
Really?
look at
Oh,
that.
you didn't make that. It looked like you made that. Okay.
No, so there's I'll shout out to these people. There's a company called Pave Tool, and they make they used to be installers, and then they make tools to support contractors in the hardscape industry. And what was really cool is about a month ago, 2 months ago, I went to the Hardscape North America, which is a week-long industry trade show. I got to meet the guy that invented all these
Nice.
tools, and I have a lot more of his tools. But that one was, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, the principles of it, a compass is nothing new technology-wise, but it's just a scaled-up version. It holds a pencil or a Sharpie or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah. It
has
was
a, it
genius.
has
That's
like a
why
shoulder
it
gauge.
looked like something you made, man. Okay, great. So what's the name of that company again?
Pave Tool.
Pave Tool. All right. We'll make sure to
Yeah,
the
and
hashtag.
they go from little hand tools to we buy vacuum apparatuses that go on the end of our excavator. We can lift up 200, 400 pound slabs.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that. That's wild too, man. I'll tell you what, technology is coming real quick to make your job way easier.
Yeah, the name of the game in hardscaping is efficiency. I mean, you charge a lot of money for it. The materials are expensive. The tools are expensive. We get more for our labor because we're trained and invested in these tools. But it makes for a fun day at work. I mean, if your back is sore after working with these tools, it's because you're doing something wrong. I mean, they're real. I have a low back injury from the military. Like I have a physical limitation, and that was one of the first things I said to Phil, the owner of Pave Tool, is I shook his hand and I said, "Hey, I just I want to thank you because you extended my career of installing with your tools."
And not having to
And
sit on the sidelines. Now you don't have to sit on the sidelines.
Exactly.
And that's what you see with older guys. They hurt themselves, and it's not that the passion's gone. They're just afraid to not be able to get out of bed tomorrow if they play too many times on that big. Right. I saw you with that slab. There was that one step on one of those paving jobs you did. That block had to be 6 feet long, a foot deep, and like 8 inches thick.
That was a Roca step. That was they're about 300 something pounds.
Yeah,
so we have.
I don't care if there's three dudes. You could pull a muscle easily with 300 pounds, man.
Yeah, I mean it's a you got to work smart. There's a lot of techniques to make it really easy. And sometimes we get these jobs done so fast. People are like, "Really, you're done already?" But I mean,
you're not paying for this job. You're paying for the last 10 years of experience that caused this job to be the way it is.
Yeah, and I brought $100,000 worth of material or mechanical type stuff to your yard to get this done. So
yeah. The ditch witch. I never got to play with one of those. I got to play with some bobcats, and it looks like just a standing up bobcat.
So yeah, that actually is a bobcat. It's called an MT100. I think they call them compact or mini tractor.
Yeah, because I never did the stand-up one before.
Revolutionized. I bought my first one in 2017. It was called the MT85, and they've had some improvements over designs. They're affordable. They're very intuitive. Since you're standing on the thing, you can see. So I can train someone to use it in a very short amount of time. Unlike a sit-in type bobcat where you got a lot of blind spots, you have a lot of weight and mass and stuff around you.
Well, yeah, you had tracks too. So I'll be honest with you, I've seen those wheels when you pivot like 180 degrees, you dig up the grass. Whereas those tracks you got there, I don't even think as long as you
run
don't,
over you can run your foot over and it doesn't hurt. I mean,
nice.
It's very low footprint or whatever. But the tool side of stuff is just. It's revolutionized the landscape industry, and it's really helped for retention. You know, if I'm talking to someone that's approached me like, "Hey, man, I heard you're hiring. Tell me what it's like working for you." I say, "Well, when I started my business, I told myself I wasn't going to be tool or equipment poor, so I spend a lot of money on my equipment, and it's something that you'll get to operate once you're trained." But you're going to use the best stuff there is, the cutting edge, the stuff that makes their job easy. It's a fun day. People love watching us use the equipment too. When I have that big vacuum out, it sounds like a Dyson, something's coming out of the sky, and we're just lifting these slabs like they're nothing, and giving giving people a look that they couldn't normally get, because in our market, we're the only ones that have this equipment.
I was just going to say, not only does it make it more fun, but it seems like the limitations start diminishing for you. So like your imagination says, oh, I can do this. And you're like, man, I don't want to dig that big old hole. And then you're like, oh man, I don't want to move that big rock. And all of a sudden that's irrelevant to the argument now. Now it's just, where does your imagination go? And once you get to a certain point, you're like, oh shit, I can go even further. And you didn't even realize that until you had that big old piece of equipment. That toy exponentially grows the imagination.
Yeah, it catapults your creativity, and that's really where this segment of the landscape industry is just endless, because you can combine, you can put those borders. We have all these tools to, and then we couple that with 3D designs. That's been something we started this year, to where people can, for a small amount of money, they can invest before they really invest. And say, because it sucks to be laying in your, thousands of dollars in materials on site, the pallets are in the driveway, and you start laying out the pavers, and they're like, I don't really like that color. Too late.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you a lot of money to change your mind now.
Yeah, we're talking serious. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's all, everything, now is with, freight's expensive, and most of this is special order. Like, we're not just going to be able to take this back to Lowe's, hey, this $10,000 order of pavers is the wrong shade. But it gives
let me saran wrap that real quick for you, and I'm going to send it back to you.
It's you bought it. I mean, I make it clear, the contract and stuff, but part of the consult is, if we're going to do an informal design, meaning you're pretty much going to give me the reins, I need to let you know when your opinion ends, because you're not, if you don't want to pay me to do a design, you're not going to really be able to see what it's going to look like, and you're going to have to trust the process. And if you're cool with that, sign here, let me do my thing. If you are a little more, some people like me in my backyard, I was a control freak. I wanted to know what it looked like before, even though I do this for a living. I wanted it to be in a design. I wanted it to be in a format where I could visually see it and then think, let me change that to black. Let me change the border to gray. Let me change the sitting walls caps. And then you could see it. And then once you, like, with design, it's like when you get it, like, you're like, that's it. Like when I'm about to send it, I'm like, this is it. They're going to 100% sign. They're ready to go. This is it. Yeah. And that's a fun feeling. Before you even dig and show up with materials, they're excited. They're showing these. I've seen my clients, they've shared our designs on social media, like, Mom, Vets is going to come and do this in March to our, and that's just giving me that ability to pre-book. We've got the vision captured. So, okay, this is when my team can come do it. I mean, a year ago, it was hard to ask somebody for money and say, 6 months from now, we're going to come. They'd be like, but if we've got this design, it's all laid out, it's perfect. Yeah. And they can go back and look at, because, like me, when I buy something, I get excited about it. Like, I bought
especially a big buy on your property, Yeah.
Yeah. I bought I got to go pick it up in Alabama later this week. And I've looked at the pictures like 20 times. Like, man, I can't wait to get this trailer,
Start putting different tires on it.
Hydraulic tilt deck. You don't have to crank the jack. It's hydraulic. Like,
it is, man. Half the fun is buying it, man.
It is. It really is. But that's really where the last year's like, we were a lawn maintenance landscaping company, really up until about last year at this time. That last year is when I said, I'm going full tilt hardscaping, which means you got to say no to, and it was hard when work comes in and it's like, hey, we need some trees planted and some bushes and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, I'm focusing on hardscaping. Try these guys. And let me tell you, my peers thought I was crazy.
I'm sure.
They're like, turning down work. And I'm like, no, I'm focusing on this. Especially, I bought a lot of equipment. I want to use all this stuff. And it just panned out really good. I can't say it was this like super thought out plan, but it was just like, nope.
Well, no, you're going in the right direction when it escalates on its own.
Yes.
Especially as you
yes.
start hyper focusing on the goal and the purpose and the drive, and it
Right.
keeps on multiplying at the same time.
Right.
You can't be in the wrong direction.
No, and it's just, I mean, it's a hell of a ride some days. Some days are great, some days are stressful, but you know, one thing we don't have in us is quit, and you just some guys don't have the stomach for it.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was watching you and I was jealous. I was like, man, I missed this. I used to do stuff like this. I'm like, because I can
It's
see
a
you
lot of
guys
fun.
messing with that one big stone and you're trying to level it off. And this guy's got a stick and he's just like rubbing more like gravel underneath it.
Yeah.
And then the other guy's picking it up again. And you're like, okay, we didn't get it. It's still tilted. And you're like, it's irrelevant. We are going to figure this out right now.
Well,
And
and
I like
think
that challenge, that effort, that there's 2-3 men whose whole life is just focused on getting this right now.
perfect.
Yeah, and
Well,
it's going
and
to
I think
happen. It's going to happen.
Yes, it's like hell or high water. If we have to go to lunch, make a new plan and come back. But I think when it boils down to what most men are fixer mentalities.
Absolutely.
We want problems to solve. We want problems to solve, especially I'm a military guy. You're a military guy. We have that.
I'm not a military man. I did not serve in the military. I work at the VA hospital.
Okay,
I don't know if there was a
cool.
confusion on that. I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to. Okay.
No, I 100%. There's some guys that on the internet they're just waiting to light dudes up.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to go there because that's not who I am as a person. On that note, my cousin was a CB, so he was in the Navy. He tried to get me to go with him, and I was working in construction with my dad, and I regret it now seeing the coworkers I work with that are 100% connected, drawing 2 paychecks, not having to pay for schooling, and I'm like, shit, man.
Yeah.
Joseph, I think I made a mistake not going with George, man. I should have went. It is what it is.
Yeah, you never know the decisions that you make that have kept you alive too.
Yeah.
I mean, that it could have panned out completely different too. And I mean, there's sometimes I regret getting out and not being like all the guys I know that were in that I came in with are all retiring, and I'm like, man, they. But
would you be playing with those big old tools right now instead of, you would have been pushing a pencil maybe or making guys run, and you would have been bored out of your mind because you've been doing the same damn thing forever?
This just sounds so silly, but it makes sense. When I got out, I got offered a job being a contractor for the Navy, a DoD contractor, and it was fine, and it was kind of doing similar to what I did in the military, which I was on the intel side. So it was like electronic signals, intelligence, stuff like that. And it was cool. We did get to use cool equipment, but it was inside. And I can't sit inside all day. Like when it's raining, like a rainy day, I have to stay. Like I'll go to the shop. I'll do something. I will find an excuse to be outside because, and like my personal Instagram is Jake is outdoors. Like I'm always outside. Like I just like being outside. It's a weird thing, but so my profession has to fit being outside. And that job paid really well. And I was able to save up a lot of cash and start my business with cash. But I was miserable. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I would go outside with the smokers. Like, y'all going on a smoke break? And I would go outside just to get some vitamin D from the sun and be outside for 20 minutes. And even if I wasn't getting super fresh air, I was still outside. And so once I started working full time outside, things were a lot better for me. But I just, that you have to. I think a lot of people deny. Like if you're passionate about something and it seems like, I mean, if you're cutting grass or something like menial to people, like I struggled with that for a long time. Like I don't want to just be known as a lawn guy. But you know what? If that's what you're good at, and that's what you're passionate about, and you're really good at it, and you can find a rhythm in life where that works for you, then do it, man. I hear young people because I employ a lot of young people, and honestly, young guys don't last with me. I have mostly older guys; they just don't, but I'm not going to lower my standards for weak men. and you're either going to get strong and you're going to learn, or you're going to not make it here. And young people as a whole, and I feel bad for them because I think they were promised this really dreamy life, but young people have a hard time tapping into and being honest with themselves about what they're passionate about. And
I think a lot of young people have a hard time getting their mind right in general.
right.
Think about what it took you to get the discipline it took you to get where you are, where you fine-tuned what you wanted, and your mind and your body and your corporate, right. your company, your guys, everything's in line together. It's not like anything's fighting with you as you're going. Right back into there, because I agree with you, man. I got kids, and I know for a fact that getting your mind right is a huge factor in being able to find that purpose, that goal. And like you said, you got some of that punk out of you when you went into the military and stuff.
Right.
But if you really psychoanalyze it a little bit, you get your mind right a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
You get your priorities right.
And I kind of joke about this because I'm in the South. I'm in Georgia, and I'm not from here, so I like to pick on Georgia, even though my wife's from Georgia. There's a lot of mama's boys here, and how mama's boys. And I think the other thing we struggle with is, construction is a blue collar trade. Ditch digging, grass cutting, pipe fitting, up until recently, it just seems like those were, if your son grew up and said, oh, he's going to go be an electrician, be like, oh, okay. Well, you know what, man? You know how many electricians and plumbers I know that have really good lives, man? They make great money. They have a good living.
It's extremely satisfying.
Yes, they help people out of position. If you have a fixing mentality, and there's nothing wrong with being an electrician or plumber or construction guy for 25 years. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, it is so necessary for our country to run. And the blue collar community, the blue collar guys is who run this country, and who people call for when they can't do things, when they need skilled labor, and they need specialized tools and techniques. And I think that it's been this, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a pop culture thing. It's just looked down upon. And I love being blue collar, and I try to talk about it, and I try to appeal to younger people, but there's something.
Well, there's a lot there. I'll be honest with you, Jake. There's a lot there, man. Talking to so many people and the stuff I see, it's more than just video games. It's a lot, man. But what we've got.
I wish I could crack it because.
Oh well, then if you want, I can give you 5 minutes and I can tell you what I think is exactly the problem.
Yeah, let's talk about it, because it's a conundrum for me, because I want young guys to be interested in my trade. Because when I'm retired, when me and you retire, when other of my peers retire,
we're going to need these guys to take care of us.
Who are we bringing up? We have to be forward thinking for our industry, for our customer base, of who's going to service our customers and take care of this. This is not going away. People are going to need houses. People are going to need things fixed. It's not going away. So how are we going to solve this problem? What's it going to look like? And I'm 41. So I got 20, 25 more years in me, and then I'm going to want to retire.
Yeah.
So what's the world going to look like in 25 years when all these people are kind of, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to.
Well, I could go down that rabbit hole too if you want, but let's focus on the young men thing for real quick, because that is becoming quite a big issue that needs to be addressed, and I think that people don't realize the systemic issue that's really underlying the whole problem to begin with. For instance, let's break down some of the motives. Why do guys do what they do? Why do you have a nice house? Why do you have a nice car? Why is your bed all nice and comfortable? Do you really need all those creature comforts?
No, not really.
No, it's more because you're trying to get a woman to come and hang out with you. And
you want to have a nice life. Yeah.
Yes. Here's a huge issue with the young guys, right? So say there's 1,000 women and 1,000 men at the college. With modern technology and everything, almost all the women will end up sleeping with like only 10 or 15 of the prettiest guys at that school. And all the other men get to play video games and stay to themselves.
Yeah.
And that's not a game or a joke. With Tinder and Instagram, the top prettiest guys don't get most of the women, they get all of the women. These women will go to college and cycle through these 20 dudes while almost 1,000 dudes sit in their dorm playing video games and jerking off.
Doing jack shit.
Yeah. So you jerk off all day and play video games, how much do you feel self-fulfilled? You just pair bonded with yourself.
Yeah, your drive to be...
So your drive to go fix the electricity so that one dude can bang all the chicks goes to zero. And you literally say, you know what? And not only that, but you got a society saying that strong men are bad. So you got a bunch of dudes that are being told if you try to be a part of the society that's making everything better, you're a bad guy. And two, go sit down and shut up. We're in charge, and we're only going to bang 20 dudes while you go and work on all the plumbing and electricity so I can go bang them more. The guys are like, fuck it, I'm just going to check out.
Right.
I'm just going to check out. I'm going to check out. There's no way in hell I'm going to fix your plumbing so this dude can fix your plumbing. I could go play video games in my mom's basement where she'll tell me I'm okay.
Right. And notice you said the prettiest. So we're talking about attractive. We're not quantifying them as alphas or Enneagram 8s that are leaders, or they're just the guys that got a look or stylish or whatever. And we could kind of stereotype that, but I think that's a good point. And also let's talk about what the other 980 men, what are they studying?
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter.
College, man.
Well, hold on. It gets worse, right? So you see, when you're 19, 20, the 30-year-old guy's getting divorced. So you're like, fuck. After these girls get run through by these 30 guys, they're going to settle for me. I'm going to buy them a house. I'm going to have 2 kids with them. And then they're going to get bored with me because I'm a simp. So they're going to divorce me and take all my money.
Yes.
Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to voluntarily do that when she's going to go back to that dude or a version of that dude on Tinder again as soon as she takes all my stuff? Why am I going to be a part of that game?
Yeah.
There's a lot of dudes saying, why even play that game? What is it? And the end result, when I'm making $1,000 a week and I'm putting 800 of it into kids I'm not allowed to see more than once or twice a week, why even do it? It's gotten so bad that these women, they pair bond with guys that don't like them, right? And they'll wait their turn. They'll wait months for their turn. And they pair bond with guys that don't like them. Our society is so geared for women that never have children that they're literally, like JP Morgan and stuff, are literally investing in cat food and wine. Do you know why? They're predicting that most women are not going to have kids and most women are going to be single at 30 and 40 years old.
Yep.
When they invest heavily, they don't invest in what's going to happen tomorrow. They're going to invest in what's going to happen in 15 years from now. They make predictions, and they're predicting that most female white women in America are not going to be married, they're not going to have kids, and they're not going to be in a serious relationship.
So where do we grab these guys? It sounds like, so by the time they get through high school, they're into college, we've already lost them. They're
lost. They're completely lost. The society has told them they're worthless. And to step aside. Go ahead.
Yeah, where is it appropriate to grab these guys' attentions and say, I mean, look, we're responsible for developing the people around us. You're going to be the sum of the people you hang out with, or there's some saying like that.
And we're more connected than we think.
Right, because I'll tell you, like, getting back to the business discussion, changing gears and changing my business, I have relied heavily on my peer relationships, my professional relationships. Those guys became my best friends immediately. Like, the guys that are doing the same time to grow the same type of business. I have a network, a community. And that has been, so when I have a bad day, I can go bitch to them. They're like, hey man, this customer, blah, blah.
And they're problem solvers, so they want to solve your problems with you.
Right. It's not just you know, and I don't wear my wife out coming home complaining about it, or maybe I do still, but it's that camaraderie. Like we went on the trip, we went to the hardscape show together, and like just that bonding and that type of. And I'm looking around at some of these other industry, they don't have that.
Not only that, but the younger guys don't have any networking.
You deliver sandwiches for Jimmy John's for 10, 12 bucks an hour, maybe 15 now, I don't know. Whatever it takes. I mean, if you just got kind of a ho-hum job, I mean, how excited are you going to get about I don't know, man.
And then you have the death of a vision, and then you see these men that are they capitulated.
They're just a shell.
Yeah, 20-year-old men that just capitulated. Not only that, but their testosterone's low. I don't know about you, but when I was 20 years old, there was no 40-year-old men that I was scared of. I'm looking at some of these 20-year-old dudes.
No.
I'm looking at some of these 20-year-old dudes, and I'm like, man, I think I could take 2 at a time.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? If it was life or death, I could probably fucking destroy 2 20-year-olds.
Like the first 2 guys are going to feel it. Maybe the third one gets me.
Oh, no, the third one is going to be looking at awe as his 2 dudes that are right beside him have no jaws left.
Right.
And I'm like, how the fuck did it come to this? When I was 20, there was nobody on earth but another 20-year-old that could stop me.
Right.
And most of them couldn't stop me.
At least in my area, the guys that I've dealt with, when it comes time to, and everybody hates conflict, whatever, but when it comes time to, okay, something will happen and it'll piss them off at work and they want to quit or they start flaking out, and I'm going to always call them out like, hey man, I see the pattern happening. You're starting to be late when you was on time. The first question I'm going to ask, I'm not going to jump their shit. I'm going to say, what's going on? Is it baby mama drama? Is it money? What is it, man? And it's always one of those 2 or 3 things. And then they say, yeah, man. And, you know, I had one guy hit me up and was like, man, I need, you know, $1,200 a week, man. I can run your crew and all that stuff. And I said, okay, show me. Show me. Well, I mean, I got these bills now. I'm like, granted, that is a problem. But if I made a T-chart of problems of mine and problems of yours, that's all the way over on yours, man. Like that tough love doesn't, like the way it affected me was when my old landscape boss would come down on me and be like, quit fucking around. Da, da, da. I took that as like introspective. I'm like, okay, I need to be better. Now, I didn't like being yelled at. I didn't like being called out, but it was that fear of being called out again. Like, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to be 10 minutes early. I'm going to be 10 minutes early because I don't like being late. I figured out I don't like being late because that stresses everybody out. And I mean, all I got to do is just get up a little bit early. It's not a big deal. But these guys, when you call them out,
they give up. They just give up. Yeah.
So rushed. And I'm like, look, man, we can work through this, but I'm not going to tolerate 5 minutes, turn it into 10 minutes, turn it into 15. 15 minutes times 5 is over an hour, and I'm not just paying you for nothing.
Not only that, but I could already be at the job site. We could already have gotten in the truck. I could already be at the job site.
I'm a goer, so I'm amped up. I've had my coffee, I've had an energy drink. I'm ready to go, bro. So you get me 15 minutes late, and I'm waiting on you. I'm like, come on, man. Yeah. You got the keys to my truck. Let's go. And that, and then it's like, well, it's just not the things I've heard from guys. It's not worth it for $800 a week. It's not worth it.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Oh. And you know, and it's hard for me not to get offended, bro, because I say, look, man, I have worked my ass off to get to this point to do these type of jobs. And here you have strolled in, getting paid top dollar, and you still can't do it. So if you want to learn how to do this, stop being late, stop running your mouth, and listen, man. But like, I got you, like hands on the shoulders, like, I got you. I will build you up. I will train you. And
I think that's another problem. I think that's another issue we have is we don't have enough mentorship.
Right. But it's not looked at it like that. It's not looked at like this guy's going to mentor me. It's looked at as like, he's talking down to me. I've been running this plate. They build it up in their head, this like fucking fantasy. And it's like, I'm the first to be like, man, we got to come back to earth here. $1,200 a week. Here's what I would need you to do. I need you to do your job well, and I need you to take off a little bit of this off my shoulders. I'm willing to do that, but you're not just going to you're not going to learn to run the crew in a week and then learn to estimate the next week. Like, this is going to take probably a year for us to build.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to be the fool before you can be the master.
So why, if we're not committed to this time, like, why am I like, I don't have a problem investing. I will take them to training and then buy them stuff, if they need boots and, that kind of stuff. But that, as soon as you do that, I feel like these young guys look at you like you're weak, even though you're being generous. You're front loading. And that's, now I've learned, I'm like, man, I can't, as much as I want
You're probably also paying them too much.
Yes.
The guy that sticks around for $300 a week might be the one that you can apprentice.
Correct.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because now you got a guy that said, I have to start at the bottom. I'm going to have to come here on time. I'm going to have to buy my own boots. I'm going to have to make this work. And that if he can actually do that for $300 a week, he's probably the guy that can do everything.
Right.
Because he's willing to be the fool at the beginning to become the master at the end.
There's just no there's got to
be one. There's got to be one in the group. There's always got to be one. I don't know if you know about this principle, but there's always a 1%. Everybody says, oh, the 1% don't pay their fair share, the 1% this, the 1% that, the evil 1%. But if you go back in human history and you look back thousands of years, you go dig a hole and you find a grave and there'll be a guy with a stick. Then another guy with a stick and another guy with a stick. Then you'll find one guy with a stick and a dog. Then if you keep on digging, you'll find one dude. He'll have all the gold, 5 wives, 3 horses, a dog, and a big battle axe. And it's all buried with him. Because even 6,000 years ago, there was a 1%. And I'm telling you right now, there's a magic formula of apprenticeship and finding a guy that's at the bottom. If you hear all these like old stories, like from the Bible and other like fairy tale stuff that we talk about, the guy that beats the dragon isn't the guy that grew up in the castle. It was the guy willing to work for $300 a week.
It wasn't the pretty guy.
It was the shepherd. It was the shepherd was the kid that no one trusted with anything else but to sit out there with a fucking sheep.
Yeah.
That's the guy that took over the world.
I mean, Jesus was a carpenter.
Yeah, man, that's pretty lowly. That's pretty lowly, man. He did not grow up in a castle. So yeah, if you look at it, man, I'll be honest with you. I think you have a golden opportunity to fix the world a little bit. All you have to do is find one guy, and 40 years from now, he might be paving my backyard.
Or he started his, which I'm totally open to and not against, because I've had guys come to me, hey, I want to start doing my own thing. Okay, cool. How do you want to do, like, understood, and thank you for telling me.
What's your game plan?
Why don't you start you on the weekends, And if I will match that enthusiasm, but if it's like, hey, I want to make a little side cash, and I need to use the Bobcat on Saturday, and if they don't start out with like, can I rent this from you and figure it into the job, like, you're not, it's not gonna work, man. But I like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm this perfect boss, this perfect leader. I've fucked up a lot of things in 10 years, but this is just the core things I see that it frustrates me because I like these guys. I like them. I can see a little bit in them. That's like, man, if you would just reach down between your legs and grab your freaking balls and realize you have a hair, we could turn into something, because we all start soft. We all start moldable and pliable. And it's how hard, you want to, I mean, it takes, what's that goofy guy on Instagram? Liver King. You follow him?
No. Go ahead. Tell me about him.
Liver King is, this is just my assessment of it. And you kind of take, he's a salesman, so you got to take bits and pieces from this. But he eats raw liver and organs and testicles and all this shit. And of course, no one's going to do that. But he sells supplements. So he'll convince you to eat the stuff that you need it in your diet. And alpha male, dude, he's got like 18 pack and muscles everywhere.
That's hilarious.
And he eats this stuff live, and he makes his kids and his wife eat it. And you can tell they don't want to eat it. I think it's hilarious. But the guy works out all the time. He owns a supplement company. He's smart, man. He's a smart dude. And he has this persona or alter ego that is called Liver King. And Liver King, he's kind of like a barbarian, super testosterone guy.
Great.
But he talks about living an ancestral life, and he's just kind of breaking it back down to old things that made men strong.
That's another thing. He's
eating a diet that is boosting his testosterone. He looks like he takes steroids, and he probably fucking does, but whatever, man. Your body, your thing. But I don't see this drive to become ahead from younger people.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can be wrong, and look, if I'm wrong, show me some young people that are doing great things, and I'm sure that those will probably, me and you will say, well, those are the 1%.
Yeah.
But I want I don't want my trade to die. I don't want people to look down upon jobs that are hard. I don't want shit that's hard to be outsourced. I don't want America to be known for being weak and wimpy. And
because we never were, man. We never were. 300 years, we never were.
It's going to take, like you said, it's just, I may affect one person, you may affect one person, but that's
you don't realize, but it's exponential.
So funny, we just used the same word.
Yeah. I apologize. I cut you off because you were literally going to say what I was going to say.
It's not a, but yeah, it's puzzling to me, and it bothers me. And actually, what's funny is the podcast thing. Some of my other buddies, some of my colleagues, we talked about starting a podcast, just talking about hardscaping stuff, which there's several out there. And my pushback on that, I said, hey, I'm all for it. But what I think it should be about is you need to have a purpose or a goal with what you're trying to accomplish in a podcast. And I said, I would be more interested in something that is centric to blue collar careers, interviewing guys that started at the bottom. People need to hear these stories where it's like, hey man, I started as a, I don't know what the lowest of lowest, like the helper. Like I picked up
sweeping after we're done. You pick up the wood.
Electricians. Then I became an electrician, and then I bought the company from the guy or something.
We've all heard those stories before.
There's a lot of them, man.
You have no idea how intrigued people are to see you come from the bottom up. People love this stuff.
Right. I moved in, and I moved to an area. I moved to Augusta, Georgia. I knew 0 people when I started Lawn Vets. I had an LLC. I had a business license. I had a phone. I bought a truck. I started with 0 leads, 0 knowledge, 0 good old boys. Nobody knew my last name. Didn't mean shit around here. It can be done. And I think I focused on, okay, we're going to start doing lawn maintenance. What's the easiest way to get your name out there? Go out there, start cutting, do a good job. Hey, he's a military guy. Let's support him. Yeah. That probably helped me. But there's other guys that did the same thing that weren't veterans that have great maintenance companies. And before you know it, I think when we quit doing maintenance, we were making $25,000 or $30,000 a month recurring every month.
Nice.
On the 1st to the 15th, we were getting checks from people. And that was, to jump into hardscapes, that was what we said no to. You have to say no to something good sometimes to do something great. I could not free up my headspace to focus on the construction side of landscaping while dealing with 100 people's lawns.
Yeah.
Oh, they forgot to close the gate. And can you guys make sure you do this next time? And that was a full-time job, managing the reins of that. And I think there's another guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, they call him. He's an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and he's really big on, and I like his message, not pressuring young people to know what they want to do, which I like that concept. Like, because I think
put your finger in the water, see what you like, see what's out there, what's available.
And he said, I didn't, and he talks about, he's like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing till I was 34 years old, and that's okay. And I'm a millionaire now, and he owns the Jets or some crap, you know.
That's awesome.
So he doesn't have uh, a perfect story, but he also talks about how he had to grind through, eat ramen noodles, live in a cheap apartment, take the subway before he had a vehicle, before he had all that stuff. And that is the difference. And back to that the Liver King guy, he talks about sacrifice. There's something you have to sacrifice mentally, physically. So his joke is he'll sacrifice his carbs. He doesn't eat carbs that day. He's only eating protein. He really wants carbs, but he's trying to get this physique and he's sacrificing his carbs. So there's no, but it's not just the nutritional thing. It's the mental thing of sacrificing something, like giving something up so that later on you can be better.
And what people don't realize, man, when you make that sacrifice, you're sacrificing 2%, but you're getting 30% back, sometimes 300% back. Actually, I'll be honest with you, the return is incapable of knowing before you get there how much of a return you're going to get, because it's technically unlimited. There's no limitation to where you're going. If you keep putting gasoline on the fire of the job you're doing right now, there's no technical limit to how far you can go.
Yeah, and
your imagination, your willpower, your desire, your need. Those are only
talking about, like, having these conversations with business people and back to focusing on that kind of blue collar podcast. And I think there's a couple out there, but I want people to see that, like, it takes time, and that's okay.
It takes a lot
of time. And it wasn't perfect. And just because we started out in lawn maintenance doesn't mean we didn't end up being in high-end residential hardscape construction. And we can always go back. We have that skill set. We can always go back to that. Say the economy completely shits out, and that's all there is service, small services that people aren't going to give up their grass. Grass cutting is always going to be a thing. So if you like doing it, do it. I didn't have a passion for it. I really didn't like it.
There's a means to an end.
I had zero creativity input, and and I didn't even realize at the time that I was creating. I didn't realize that. I did not know I had that in me. I would have never, I'm not artistic. I can't draw. Like, if I draw out a little landscape pan I'm big on dry erase boards. It looks awful. Like, nobody understands it but me. But there's ways you can be creative with your hands that aren't. It's just a different medium. And I would never consider myself a fine arts or artistic guy. I can't sing, none of that stuff. But I am still talented in a creativity role because I can think of things that look good before they're there to make your backyard look amazing. And then I can put it into a 3D design. I can put it into a concept that you can see and understand and think, yes, this is worth thousands of dollars, or let's make it bigger, let's make it smaller.
Isn't that amazing that you can take something that's nothing, your imagination, your mind can create it, and you can convince another mind to see your vision?
Yes, that's the fun part.
That's amazing. I love it.
When they're just as excited as you. The other thing from a business perspective is I only really need to do about 15 projects a year, maybe 20 if there's some smaller, some bigger. I don't need to go, when you're doing lawn maintenance, you're selling hundreds of jobs a week. You're servicing 100 people a week. You're driving a truck constantly. If it rains, you're behind. If it rains 3 days, you're screwed. If it rains 4 days, you're texting, making phone calls, taking money off.
Apologizing, doing it for free on a handful of them, because you can't lose them, because next month when it's dry, you're going to need that check to come in.
Yes, because your labor is going to be up. So it's and the cool thing about the industry I'm in is it's massive. The green industry is absolutely massive, from grass cutting, chemical treatments, True Green and all that kind of stuff.
I knew a lot of guys that did really good just putting in the lines for the sprinklers.
Irrigation repair is a huge thing. We reroute irrigation a lot because when you put a patio, it's usually grass there, so you got to dig it up. There's a lot of skills that go into what we do, and it's all like, it's OJT, man. I just need you to show up, ready to go, not afraid of work, listen, ask questions, and I prefer people to not be experienced. I would rather have a green guy start. And I
Like
have to hold
17,
him.
like 17, 18 years old that's willing to just
Oh,
listen.
I would
Now,
kill
here's another thing that I think is a huge mistake on the young guys' parts here, and I think they've been sold a huge lie on the fact that they're all in. The day we're born, we're all in. If you put 3 years working with Jake, that time is not wasted. That time is not lost. They're knowing how to lay those stones or how to reroute that wire or to go call the city to make sure there's no electricity under the ground and all that stuff. Those knowledges they last a lifetime. So you're all in, and you can get like 2 or 3 careers underneath you by 25, 30. Number one, you got skill sets besides the discipline of waking up every morning and make Jake happy. But you got the disciplines, seriously, if you think about it,
Yeah.
to acquire a fourth one.
Yeah.
And I think young guys are so mistaken in thinking that they're going to be okay asking for $1,500 a week without having plenty of skill set to go with what they're doing.
Well, and just there's also, I feel like managing pressure, anxiety, family balance, that is all part of business ownership, leadership positions. If I think back to the times in the military, it was just I felt so when I would get a little bit of responsibility, it's like, man, I gotta like hit this out of the park. It's that, what's the term? Eager to please. And that's like gone away. And I hate to keep hitting on these guys because I
want to fix it. I want to fix something.
A lot of potential, but it's just somewhere along the line. And I didn't do it, and you didn't do it. Our age group didn't do it, but somewhere in I don't know if it's a politics thing. I don't know. That's maybe a Pandora's box of me saying that, but they've been told that like it should just be this easy street, and I just don't. I don't think.
The psychology is all off. It definitely is all off because it seems self-evident to me that life is generally suffering. We're going to die. This is not an easy life.
Yeah.
I mean, now we staved off the vast majority of the suffering. We're not getting eaten by lions. No one's dragging us out of our huts.
Right.
But nonetheless, man, it's still the same equivalent. We still have to work through the adventure. You have to leave your parents' house eventually.
Yes.
So I think they believe that they're just going to sit there and wait. It's a complete failure to launch.
Like I'm just going to turn around and look at him and say, man, here's your salary. Here's your company truck. Here's your cell phone. Tell you what, bro, you just come to work whenever you want to.
That's such a scary world, man. Can you imagine? And if your emotions say, "Oh, I don't feel like coming in this week," just let me know that your emotions are feeling that way, and we'll talk about it next week. It's preposterous.
Okay. And I will say that that hiring young people has made me aware of mental health and aware of my own mental health. But it's amazing what leaving a stressful situation like yesterday. Remember, we were supposed to do this yesterday.
Yeah.
And I had something unexpected. I was planning on, I had my day planned and then it didn't go as planned. And it was about an hour of stress. It was right before lunch. I said, I'm going to go get some lunch. Had some lunch, got to vent a little bit, got me a cup of coffee, came up with the game plan, went back, and I felt that 1 hour difference, that perspective. And there's some, comforting. It's good to sit down and eat. I went and sat down, had a sit down meal, and was talking with my guys, and then we went and got us a Starbucks, and we went back to the job site. Like we're not leaving because there's a problem. We're not hiding because this client's not happy. We're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And then everything's fine. And then the rest of the day was great.
That's
awesome. The rest of the day was amazing. Yeah.
That's great, man. That's a great story, man.
From 12 to 5 was the best part of the day. And from 10 to 12 was the worst part of the day.
Now my question to you is, a young guy that wants the immediate satisfaction of that income, is he capable of coming back and fixing it?
I don't know. That is the only test, is to put him in that situation.
Do you know what I'm saying? No. You have to have 40 tests before you in the military, at your dad's house, underneath the car when you rub your knuckle in the cold. You need all those tests before you. Failing at a dating relationship, there's 40 things that have to occur for you to be that man that day when I need you.
Right. And I will say, if I can jump back on the young guys, what they're not looking for is the guidance. And I don't know if that's like, maybe we could get into metrics on like fatherless homes and things like that.
That may be a factor too that I didn't even take into consideration. I had my dad. My dad was good to me. And I thought about it yesterday. It dawned on me, and I said, it never crossed my mind my dad wouldn't be there. That never crossed my mind. That thought, and I think about it, how many young men out there don't even have a dad at all? And if they're lucky, they have to ask their mom's permission to see him on the weekend. And Mom, I really want to see him. And because I saw it on TikTok the other day, because I talked to a couple guys that are single dads. They don't get, and I couldn't do it. I love these guys to death, but it's such a heart-wrenching storyline that I couldn't do that perpetually. I'd lose my mind.
Yeah,
and I thought about it. I was like, my dad was never not there. It wasn't even a debate in my mind that my grandfather and my father wouldn't be there. They were always there.
Right.
Always.
And they really do. I just went to a funeral for a friend of mine's father, and I hate funerals. I don't like going to them. But if I go to your funeral, I really loved and cared about you, because I just don't like the emotional cycle of them. Some people say it's closure. It just doesn't work for me. It upsets me, and it really puts me in a cloud for a couple days. But I went to his funeral, and it changed my perspective a little bit, because I saw like he was a great. Here's what frustrates me about it, and not to get on the spiritual level, but this guy was great. He was great to his family. He was great to his friends. He was just got very sick. I forget what it was. It was something with his kidneys, and within 6 months, just declined and died.
Oof, wow.
And he left 2 sons. And his sons are great dudes and well off, and have a good grab on life. And I saw just hundreds of people, to the point where one of the funeral directors asked somebody, was the deceased famous? Like, no, he was just a good man. And he was, active in his church. And that's why I struggle, was like, man, this is such a great guy. And he influenced so many people. But at 67 or something, I forget how, relatively young.
Way too young. Yeah, we're looking at 100 now for a lot of people.
He was healthy. He didn't smoke. He didn't drink. And then there's people out there just living life on the razor edge, living crazy, drugs and alcohol, and just obese or whatever, and just live to be 80 or 90 years old.
Crazy.
And it's just like, I wrestle with the unfairness, the unjustness. I view that as an unjust thing. Like, why did he have to lose his dad? He was a great dude. But then I saw like all these people, like his influence is trickling down on all these people.
Well, more connected than we think, man.
Yes. And I know that his son, I'm close with his son, is struggling with not having his dad, but he has that whole lifetime, the 41 years of the lessons from his dad and the guidance from his dad. And we may be onto something with that, because the divorce rate, I'm divorced. My kids live in a different state, and I can tell my son is not having the same childhood that I had, and it sucks.
Now, I want you to know, you could get a lot of that time back in a very short period of time. I've seen people do this, where they never met their father before, they meet their father, they fall in love, and they hang out for like 1 year, and they literally can like get back 20 years again. It's kind of like an old friend, where you pick right back off. That stuff really does happen. So it's not like you can't, there's not like you're not going to have another opportunity. And I'll be honest with you, most young men don't need their dad until they're about 12 anyways. Once you hit around 12, 13, then dad becomes a little bit more influential, and the drive to
It is nice to be able to. I don't call my dad. My dad's still alive. He lives in another state. I try not to call my dad on bad
Too many can bang with us. Straight up, we no angel dust. Label us notorious. Thug ass niggas that love the bus. It's strange to us. Y'all niggas be scrambling, gambling. I'm restaurants with mandolins and violins. We just sitting here trying to win, trying not to sin. High off weed and lots of gin. So much smoke need oxygen. Steadily counting them Benjamins. Nigga, you should too if you knew what this game would do to you. Been in this shit since 92. Look at all the bullshit I've been through. So-called beef with you know who. Fucked a few female stars or two. Then I
a
feel
lot
like
of
niggas look like Mike shit.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. I love my kids to death, so I cut back on them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have a passion to do this and crush this. Because you don't understand, Jake. There is a lot of people out there that have a great story to be told. I enjoy finding out what makes someone get where they go. I like seeing what, and it's not hard to do. It's not like this is a daunting task that's impossible. I'm slowly getting a little bit better at this, and I'm making more of an effort to get a little bit better at this. And I think I'm going to have to invest the $180, $200.
Yeah.
Trying to avoid it. I was trying to avoid it because I told my daughter I wasn't going to spend too much money on this. So far, this entire endeavor has only cost me $30.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I really, but it's been all upfront learning. I've had to learn everything.
Well, I think the investment is your time, the editing,
Yes. And that's the thing. I got 6 kids, man. I got 6 kids. I'm divorced, but the kids are with me. So I've got a daunting task just keeping my house and the kids. And
what's the age range with that?
I have a 19-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. And there's 6 of them. All of them I got 5 girls and my little dude, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm a blessed man. I'm not complaining about anything that I have. It's just what good it would be having everything you want if you don't have them with you to share it with. So I had to cut back because I was doing like 7. I think I was doing like 3 a day, 5 days a week. And I'm like, shit, between the 40-hour work week at the VA, picking everybody up, and I had to cut it back. But I had a couple days off. Everybody was at school. I'm like, why would I not just try to crush it this week right before Christmas?
Right.
So that way I can leave my Christmas time to hang out with the kids. So that's how that played out for me.
Well, and there's probably, and maybe you can, since we were talking about potentially getting into podcasting, there's probably a self-imposed demand.
Yes, I made a promise to myself.
I need to have another episode. I need to have content.
Yes, I made a promise to myself that I would do 2 a week no matter what, and I failed last week. So I was really disappointed. I failed by like 1 hour. I was uploading the video at like 11:15, and I'm like, no, it's not going to go through.
Give yourself a little grace. I mean, that's pretty grueling, and I think that like I manage my own social media. And, it looks like a lot of the people that you have on the podcast, you check out their TikToks and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's a daunting task too. Yeah, it's a daunting task
in itself, and learning. And like, I'm not good at video editing, but I like. So I felt a lot of pressure to put out stuff and reels and all that.
Yeah.
But I have kind of a quality filter in my brain where I'm like, okay, this one's a dumb one. Don't post that.
No, that's the one. That's the one. Now, here's the deal, man. Just like you weren't the best lawn guy on the planet, or you weren't the best at marching when you first started, or you weren't the best at whatever you do, you eventually get better.
Yes.
Having the bravery of putting out my pilot was fucking terrible, and I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it was terrible. But if I didn't put that one out, I would have never put out the first one. And me and Riley would have never done the third one.
I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I listened to a good bit of it, and I was like, wow, I respect, because you put yourself out there first, and that's hard to do. A lot of people don't talk about what they went through, and that is kind of the summation of what we're finding out is the problem is we're not telling our stories to younger people or other people that could be influenced by it. And how do you influence people? Like, what is your point? On the Lawn Vet Outdoors Instagram, I'm trying to influence. I'm wanting to show my peers, hey, look, I know this stuff and I'm getting better, and I'm, you get better. You keep getting better. I want to show my friends, like, man, this is a legitimate thing. I want to show potential clients, which that's been a big thing, is when you land your first real job from it. Hey, I DM'd you on Instagram, and then it turns into $50,000 for your business. You're like, this is insane. Why would I ignore this? And all I do is put little videos up with some music that I
Yeah, the music choice, fantastic. Some of them are right on the money, man. Love it.
that was kind of, so we had a discussion with some of my colleagues. They're like, Jake, you put like gangster rap and
Yeah,
this
no, that's
cussing
great.
and all
It's
that
great.
stuff. And I'm like, but that's me. That's what I listen to. That's how I talk when I'm joking around with you. When my guard is down and I'm not, but even in a sales environment, like I want you to know me because you're buying me first.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm selling is like, hey, I can do this. The transfer of trust. Can we can this guy actually do this project? And now my TikTok is a little more, I'm a little more edgy on TikTok maybe than Instagram, but
Be careful. They're more likely to ban you.
oh really?
Oh, yeah, they ban people all the time. Instagram never bans anybody. You really have to throw yourself out there on Instagram.
I meaning like from a business standpoint, but I'm not gonna like back off who I am. And if that's the if one reel I load up is reggae and one of them's rap and one of them's like I'm trying to tie the song into something, whether it's
The emotion in the moment in the time that you're working right then and there.
so
And then one of them
so
was like Rush or something like that. And it was perfect.
yeah, like Working Man, like you know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, it's
I
great,
began
man.
listening to that song when I was 15 on a landscape crew. So that's what that meant to me. I'll tell you too, another this you mentioned the swimming pool one. And I did two videos on, I did a lot of videos on that pool, but there was a colleague of mine, we send each other music to like motivate. That's how some people send like motivational. Me and him have the same music taste. So we send some new rap song or something like, hey man, here's a classic, you know. And he had sent me this song about tunnel vision. It was Project Pat, which I love Project Pat. And tunnel vision is about like having a vision, sticking to it, grinding, you know, surprising people that you've come through to this goal. And the day that I made that video, two people had quit and I was literally working by myself. And hey, it's like, bro, put on the knee pads, get down and get in.
Yeah.
Honestly, I had my headphones in. I really enjoyed the day. Honestly, working by myself was great.
And
But
you have to worry about the payroll this week.
so I put that song on repeat,
Oh,
and I'm
wow.
doing a
No
very
shit.
tedious task. And then I got done with it, and I was like, I'm gonna make a reel about this because that day meant something to me. Because
Yeah.
every time you have those gut checks and you get through it, you got
You become a more of a person.
right.
Yeah, and not only that, but now if there is a more daunting task that comes up, you got something to draw from.
Right. And I didn't go home. I always joke with my wife. I always say, man, I'd love to come home right now, but I don't have that option, you know? And I didn't. It was like either finish the tech. It wasn't that much left to do, but I finished that black band around that pool. It's very detail oriented. It had to be perfect. And the guy I was working for was sorry, it's really loud.
Yeah, it's loud.
The
No
guy I
big
was
deal.
working for was a military guy, and he's not going to accept some bullshit. He knows because we've had this conversation and we've had that eye to eye handshake. Here's the money. I can't wait for you to start. I'm going to perform to your as close to that client's expectation as I can. Now, sometimes you have to tell people like, hey, the material can't do this, or you're within the limitation, or sometimes people have unrealistic expectations, and you have to look at, and this is a line that I've used before, and I don't feel like it got me out of the mess. It got me back to the human being level. As I said, this is the best I can do.
Yeah.
Like I'm tapped out. Ability, I am not being a bitch. I'm not shirking my responsibilities. This is the maximum peak performance that I can do with my tools, my education, and myself. This is it. It does not get any better because sometimes people have really unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. Because social media makes things look like everything's easy.
That's why I show, and I think it's important. And I'm in the minority, I believe. I like to show in progress and when things look like crap. And like, you know, I put some videos of like us demoing an old patio that we're rebuilding or something. Like, it's fun. I think I put like a Poison song or something, but it's that amped up like, hey, we're starting something new. and it's gonna look like crap for a couple of days because we got concrete and pipes pulled up and dirt everywhere, and then it rains, and but people need to see. I'm trying to build that expectation, like it's gonna look bad before it looks good, and that's when their anxiety is up, and that's when if you have that same, if you're like, oh yeah, no, it does look really bad, they're gonna feed off that, man, and then they're gonna start tearing you up with questions and start sucking your time when you need to be focused on the job.
Yeah.
So it's and I've learned, and I've had some jobs, man, that just like the client made it miserable, absolutely miserable, and you have to. I'll even be kind of one level deeper. I'll peel the onion back. One of my very first like full hardscapes, like me and the guy that worked with me, like we killed it. Like we did the best we could, and it looked so good. And the client was just an unhappy person. He's just an asshole, and he was just chewing and like didn't. And I went and checked. He paid me, but I went to check out, and that's the best one where you're like, hey man, check this out. And he just nitpicked and complained and bitched. And I just finally looked at him and I said, you didn't say one nice thing about this. Are you really that unhappy with the job we did? Like
Yeah. When you checked him, what did he say when you checked him?
Is it that bad? Well, and he said, well, I mean, it just wasn't what I was expecting. And I said, hey man, I'm really sorry we couldn't meet your expectations. Can you give me an idea of what that was? Because maybe I just completely misread this here.
Yeah.
But you got 2 sitting walls, you got lights, you got a fire pit, you have a full patio, we got sod down. Like you can't even tell we were here. What's the problem?
Yeah.
And he just was just bitching, and I was just like, I guess but I drove home and I felt so defeated. I was just like, why did I let this person make me feel like that? And then I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not going to we're going to deliver, and we're going to listen to the client. We're going to do right by the client, but I'm only going to live up to my own expectations. And that job was perfect, and I was satisfied with it. It's the best I can do, and that's it. I'm not going to feel bad about it because he's a dick. And that was like probably for the next jobs, that was like the catalyst where I was like, hey man, we got lawn vets expectations, and it's going to be, paver's going to be perfect, the sand's going to be perfect, the edging, everything's going to be like I have my level of detail, and it's good enough for almost everybody we've worked for except for a handful of people. So that's but that's probably the guy playing video games and jerking off.
Just bitter, angry, but yeah. Jake, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man, it was a good chat. I didn't expect to go into this level of detail, but
No, I appreciate it more than you know, and other people appreciate it more than you know. I think that's one of the things that's lost in our society is men aren't appreciated for what they do. Having someone say thank you means a lot more than you think, man.
Yes.
And
also, you need to have someone in your life that will look at you and say, hey, man, you're wrong for that.
Or, and you be a man enough to take it, and you be man enough to take it correctly.
Yes. And I'll be that person, and you can totally be it to me, and I may not be happy about it, but the older I get, I'm learning to listen to that. But I think it's important for it's all about how you do it and how you approach it.
I was going to say, once you do that, you open the door for potential. Because we were talking about how life in general is kind of suffering to a certain extent. But the salvation of that suffering is our potential.
Right.
We can aim for something. We can make it better. We can kill the dragon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you don't take things the way you're supposed to take them, if you don't have some introspection and there's no one there to appreciate it, why kill the dragon? Why put the effort in? So we have a couple things there that you touched on that probably should be reevaluated a little bit because we're way more connected than we think, man. And I'll be honest with you, I want young men to do well. I want society to do well. I want us to flourish. I want us to have 300 more years of peace and prosperity, man. I want to see it.
It'd be nice to know when I die, when I'm on my deathbed, and you are too, that, hey, man, we made a difference. We help people stay on the right track. Our country's on the right track. and we have, we had a fulfilling life.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Jake, I appreciate more than you know. Go ahead and
bro.
plug away what you got, man. Go plug your Instagram and your TikTok and all that.
Oh, so okay, Instagram is at Lawn Vets Outdoors, and our TikTok is the Landscape Mafia. So I didn't do my business on TikTok, but the Landscape Mafia has just always kind of been a joke.
No, I love it. You even have a sticker, man. I saw the sticker.
We got the stickers, and we got some beanies and stuff to come. We're gonna post some merch up on TikTok whenever I get kind of my shit together on that side of things. But yeah, man, appreciate the plug, and definitely encourage people to follow us, even if we're not in your market, and just hopefully our work can inspire something cool outdoors, and we can inspire young men to get into the trades and be working men and be proud of that. And be proud of that profession, man. That would make my day if I could convince one person to come into the trades, whatever it is, and they find something they're passionate about. Because life is really good when you have a job and a profession that you're passionate about. It's really fulfilling and happy.
It is, man. I appreciate it. All
right, brother.
Sounds good. You have a great day, man. Have a good week, and I'll let you know when this gets published.
No problem.
All right, man.
Bye.
See you later.
Weather is good, sun is shining, don't get my fire.